Alright, part 3, let's go. Watch the other parts because I've done this really stupidly. Let's go.
Unbelievable what unbelievers will believe to
You probably won't know what's going on if you don't watch the other ones, that's why I say that.
remain unbelievers, to what atheists and evolutionists actually believe. I heard somebody say one time that it's unbelievable what unbelievers will believe to remain unbelievers, and I feel like
First of all, what was that word salad? Second of all, more poisoning the well. I'm just gonna skip over it if it's more poisoning the well, because it's genuinely not worth responding to at this point.
that is actually kind of true. It really is unbelievable. We're entering into the twilight zone. Stay tuned. And this paper also says that rocks and minerals must have played key roles in virtually every phase of life's emergence. Check this out. It says rare meteorite that fell on a UK driveway may contain ingredients for life. And so in this paper, you can see what they're insinuating. They're insinuating.
Yeah, because it probably had some of those base elements or chemicals in it that are required for life.
That life ultimately came from a rock. That is what they believe. And that's hard to defend that position, that you came from a rock. I can't imagine.
What's a harder position to defend is denying it because, trust me, bro. That's like, dude, you haven't given any evidence for anything else.
And having to be an atheist and defend this stuff. And if you look at this paper,
atheism does not say anything at all about belief in evolution. Now, many atheists do believe in evolution, but many atheists also believe in astrology. It's really not... Atheism doesn't say anything about evolution. I see this time and time again among Christian apologetics saying that, they say atheists and then just assume that all atheists believe in that they believe in evolution. I believe in Freya. I believe in evolution. So what? I don't like these people. That's why I'm making this. I'm no longer an atheist, but I'm not gonna say that my belief in Freya is fact. I know for a fact that there's no actual evidence for it, but I'm also not trying to say that it's reality and everyone else should accept it. That's why I don't like these people, because they take for granted that what they're saying is true, and then they crucify anybody else who doesn't believe it, and that they say that they're stupid. And it's so insufferable when people force their beliefs on other people. It's so insufferable.
Says that the ingredients for life in space rocks that fell to the earth, and it talks about how these rocks contained liquid water. And so again, they're trying to insinuate that life was created from water that eroded minerals out of rocks. And to the science,
they're not insinuating. They're saying that they know it because it's scientific fact that's been proven.
Scientifically illiterate atheist, he or she will just eat this right up. They'll think it's just, oh, this is incredible. This is great knowledge. As Christians, we're supposed to be...
Because it is great knowledge. I'm not gonna assume that it's not great knowledge just because of your trust me bro energy.
Free thinkers, and we're supposed to be skeptical.
Did you just say you're skeptical, critical thinkers? You people are the furthest from that I have ever fucking seen. You take for granted what you're saying is true even when it's not. That's not critical thinking. That's just a superiority complex.
Of demonstrated lies like these ones that we're looking at. And in creationism, we believe that dinosaurs lived recently. But according to evolution, dinosaurs lived 65 million years ago. Let's go ahead and do some scientific analysis of this as well. Let's see who's correct. We find dinosaur blood cells in dinosaur bones that are supposedly 65 million years old. These bioorganic materials that we're finding, like blood cells, blood vessels, hemoglobin in the blood, check this out. There's over 16 types of bioorganic materials that are found in dinosaur bones. They're all biodegradable.
Still hasn't shown any evidence that it's wrong. No contrary evidence, no nothing.
Gradable. Remember, that's what bioorganic even means. It means that it's material that will biodegrade. You have to ask this question. Could dinosaur blood last for 65 million years?
I don't know. Honey was preserved for, what was it? Like 3,000 years? I don't know which pyramid it was found in, but we found honey that was literally edible in pyramids. I don't know which pyramids, but it was a pyramid. So thousands of years ago, it was still edible. There are ways things can be preserved. It's not like it's crazy, don't get me wrong, but it exists. We've seen it exist. What is your evidence for it not being true?
The answer is no. Some people will say...
Yeah, the answer is no. That's all he has. It's trust me, bro. That's all it is.
That iron cross-linking somehow preserved the dinosaur blood. Well, here's the thing. Even if you submerged that blood in iron and then sealed that for millions of years, the blood is still going to deteriorate. Yes, iron can cause blood cells to be preserved for a short time.
I love how he says all of this stuff as if he knows it to be a fact. What, like, he says submerged in iron. Submerged. The only way you can do that is if the iron is literally melted, and that's hundreds, thousands of degrees. Sorry, not hundreds, that's thousands of degrees before that melts. What do you think is going to happen if you put blood in an environment that hot? What do you think happens? It's not going to be preserved. It's going to be destroyed. And it's not the fact that iron is present. It's the fact that it's dissolved into the blood. That's what's preserving it. God.
But for millions of years? Have you ever been to a relative's house and you see them can foods? That food that they have tried to seal up.
It's great preservation, don't get me wrong, but the circumstances, the reason why we don't find that living tissue that often is because it's so incredibly rare, and there are such hard circumstances Like, such rare circumstances need to happen for that preservation to happen. That's why it's like, yeah, it's crazy because it doesn't happen often. But when you have millions of years of history, something that might be a 1 in a trillion chance is probably gonna happen a couple times.
Up and preserve still will go bad over time, over just a few years in some cases. And in the dinosaur bones, we also find carbon-14. Remember, carbon-14 only lasts 50,000 years. The half-life is 5,730 years, and so every 5,730 years, half of the C14 exits the bones. Well, how is it that these bones are loaded with C14? That's because they died recently, because these bones are not millions of years old. They weren't 730 years, half of the C14 exits, will go bad over time, over just a few years in some cases. And in the dinosaur bones, we also find carbon-14.
Okay. But did you radiocarbon date dinosaur bones that were preserved? Or did you carbon date fossils? Because you can't radiocarbon date non-biomatter. It says right there is a way of determining the age of certain archaeological artifacts of biological origin. Did you radiocarbon date bones or fossils? That is the question.
Remember, carbon-14 only lasts 50,000 years. The half-life is 5,730 years, and so every 5,730 years, half of the C14 exits the bones. Well, how is it that these bones are loaded with C14? That's because they died recently, because these bones are not millions of years old. They weren't sitting in the ground for millions of years and got contaminated by C14 from the atmosphere. That's not what happened. If they would have been contaminated by C14, it would have...
I have a question for you, Matt Powell. If dinosaurs lived alongside humans as recently as 6,000 years ago, where did they all go? Where are they? Why do we not see them today? That is my question. How do we not see any dinosaurs today? Why are they all dead? Huh? Why?
It could have been contaminated by other things, and therefore it would have contaminated the blood that we find in the bones, and the blood cells would be non-existent. So you can look at this all sorts of different ways, and you can cross-reference these dinosaur findings, and just biologically, that's enough information for me to say, yes, God was right. Yes, the Bible is correct, that God created dinosaurs with man. The Bible says, "Behold now Behemoth, which I made with thee. He eateth grass as an ox." And many evolutionists for many years were laughing at this and saying that this is not a dinosaur, because we know.
There is literally nothing in that passage that has any semblance of referring to dinosaurs. I'm sorry, but all it says is behemoth. That's all it says. Behemoth could mean literally anything.
That dinosaurs don't eat grass. Well, one day some scientists had found some coprolites.
Wait, who the fuck said dinosaurs don't eat grass? Who said that? Because I doubt it's an actual atheist. I doubt it's literally anybody. Has this imaginary person not heard of a triceratops? Not heard of, I forget what they're called, but the long-necked dinosaurs? Herbivores exist. Herbivores have existed since forever. In fact, I'd be willing to say that herbivores did exist long before carnivores. Maybe not. Maybe those two roles existed before before land animals. I don't know. But herbivores still exist. I don't know who this imaginary person is to say that dinosaurs didn't eat grass.
Dinosaur dung. And they analyzed it, and they found that dinosaurs actually did eat grass. Check this article out. It says fossil.
No shit, Sherlock.
Fossil dung reveals dinosaurs did graze grass. Textbooks have long taught that grasses did not become common until long after the dinosaurs died at the end of the Cretaceous period, 65 million years ago.
Oh, specifically grass. Specifically grass. Okay. Okay, well, I mean, doesn't really matter. The dinosaurs still existed at the end of the Cretaceous period, I'm pretty sure. So...
Depicting dinosaurs munching on grass was considered by experts to be as foolish as showing prehistoric humans hunting dinosaurs with spears. But microscopic examination of the fossilized dinosaur dung from India now shows that the massive plant-eating dinosaurs munched heaping helpings of at least 5 different types of grass. It's interesting that they would claim that the idea that dinosaurs ate grass was as silly as thinking that dinosaurs and man were living together. The Bible says about the brachiosaur, behemoth, it says he moveth his tail like a cedar, the sinews of his stones are wrapped together. The Bible is describing these dinosaurs, and it
still lots of things that could be referring to that aren't dinosaurs. Have you ever thought of maybe the fact that could be referring to a giraffe? Some other kind of animal? Giraffes, actually, do giraffes have long tails? I don't think they do. But, like, there are plenty of animals that are big. Pretty sure it said as big as an ox. There are a lot of animals that are as big as oxes and that are herbivores. So...
describes an animal that...
in fact, it could be a translation error, and it could be literally referring to oxes.
Had a tail as big as a cedar tree. And theistic evolutionists who...
It's called... Dude. It's called overemphasis. I highly doubt the tails were quite literally as big as a cedar. But you take the Bible as literal fact. So, there's no point in arguing that because...
we'll compromise. We'll say, well, that's an elephant that it's talking about. Well, excuse me, an elephant doesn't move its tail like a cedar tree. It's clear that this creature had a gigantic tail, that it was huge. And so you can look and compare the tail of an elephant or the tail of a hippopotamus, as they will claim Behemoth was, with the tail of a brachiosaur. And it's pretty obvious what the truth is on that. In the creation model,
It's pretty obvious what the truth is? Oh, you mean the fact that it's probably a translation error? In fact, it could be a translation error. It could supposed to mean not as big as a cedar. Which is really funny, because what I see a lot, because I've tried to learn quite a few languages, is it's hard to learn the difference between negative and positive. It's hard to translate between the negative and positive connotations with a lot of different languages. And with how many languages the Bible is translated through, I wouldn't be surprised if it was referring to Oxus, if it was referring to it not being not being like a cedar. I would not be surprised. In fact, it could be saying like a fern or like grass. You know what a hippo's, or sorry, not a hippo, what was it? A elephant. Elephant's tail is a lot like grass or a fern.
we believe in what's known as Noah's flood. But according to evolution, uniformitarianism is true. And basically what uniformitarianism is the idea that everything slowly accumulates geologically, that all of the layers that you see outside and see like in the Grand Canyon, for example, are caused by local floods or just slow accumulation of rock layers over time. And we can also do some comparative analysis between...
Yeah. You can see that in the Grand Canyon. You can observe that phenomenon with your own eyes at the Grand Canyon. You know what you should do with all your pastor money that you use by ripping off your fanboys and fangirls? You know what you should use that for? A trip to the Grand Canyon so you can observe how that happened.
A global flood and local floods and see which one is correct. We actually find fossilized clams on the top of Mount Everest, and they're in the closed position, which means they were catastrophically buried and then pushed up the mountain through rapid plate tectonics, catastrophic plate tectonics. Because when a clam dies naturally in nature, it opens up because the muscle relaxes and a scavenger.
Did this guy make this video and then make a clip of this video and then make a clip of that video? I think that's what he did, because on my first and second attempts at making this, I tried to do the first one. It was annoying, but the recording stopped for some reason. I then did a second try on a different video, which had the first one, the first clip, nested in there. And then the problem with that one was that the audio was fucked. So what the fuck? I'm not gonna go over this another time. I've already explained this twice. Not to you guys, but pretty much the gist of it is, yeah, they were pushed up there by plate tectonics, and not all clams, Like, it's not a law of the universe that clams open upon death. Like, I'm sorry, but there are circumstances where a clam is not going to open upon death. And not to mention, that still doesn't help your case because the clams were very clearly dead. Like, they were at the top of a mountain. They are dead. It doesn't help your flood theory. Not to mention, he goes over whale fossils being, like, upright and trees being upright in layers of sediment. I don't know how that happens, but he gives absolutely no evidence of whether or not, like, there's no hint of anything in that supports his flood theory. He's just saying words and then goes, must have been a flood, like that supports it at all. Anyways, I'm really just done with this, so I'm gonna end the video here. I may continue this at a later date, but this was like part 3 or 4.